thought to myself, what's my favorite part of my job? When we talk about stuff, we're talking about concept, we talk about execution, we go, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna do it? Like that collaborative process is to me where the magic is, right? Coming up with original things, making them become life, right? It's a birthing process, and in the end, I co-parent with a lot of people to get there.
Well, for those of you that are watching at home, I am Chris Blankenship, and this is ProFor Live at the Beautio. This is our new interview series, and today our esteemed guest is Pat Hazell, none other than creative stand-up comedian, writer, and director. And if you want something creative done, this is your guy.
All right, appreciate the introduction.
Yeah. And today's conversation is really going to sort of focus on directing, although there will be other elements that come into play here. But on that note, let's start with a little bit of a history lesson. So you came to Austin a number of years ago, I don't know how many, and then I'd like for you to talk a little bit about how you got connected with ProFor and your sort of introduction to directing.
Oh, well, it's funny. I came here on the fly from Louisiana.
Yeah.
I was there and the Katrina hit. So it was just a very awkward time to decide whether to stay or not stay. There was a lot of services out and stuff, and I had just played Austin as a performer. So it felt like a safe place to come back to.
Yeah.
And I made my way here, and while I was here, one of the things I was working on was a comedy trailer, movie trailer, for a kind of, I would call it more of a prank than a real job, which was that Jerry Seinfeld, who I had written for some years, had a routine about Halloween. And his manager, George Shapiro, wanted to make a feature film out of Halloween. And we had a conversation about it, and we said, what if we kind of try to own Halloween, like a Christmas Story, own Christmas, like a kind of a nostalgic look back, right?
Like something that you would watch every year?
Yeah, that was the notion.
Okay.
Right? So Jerry's Halloween routine was iconic, and everybody kind of knew all of that. And kind of what we did was we decided to use Jerry's narrative to put this trailer together. It was a fake movie trailer for a movie that didn't exist, right? And I had come up with the name of the title, Free Candy, because every house when you were a kid was giving you free candy. But the reason I thought it was hilarious was the marquee would then read free candy, and parents driving their kids by would go, we gotta stop, there's free candy in that building, right?
Yeah.
I thought it would draw a lot of attention to the title. So while I was working on that trailer, several of your crew, folks like Ken and other folks, were running camera or doing editing, and that was my introduction to the ProFor team in a way. And I had directed quite a bit of theater prior.
Okay.
So I didn't really realize how valuable that was going to be in directing commercials or directing other things. And what I'm not an expert at is technical camera equipment. My expertise is the event.
Right.
How do I make it funny? How do I give it heart? What am I going to do with these people? How are we going to stage it? And then I rely a great deal on director of photography, on communication with the editor. How are we going to make this something that's an event worth keeping, right? Because to me, as a director, you got to make a lot of decisions. Best to delegate to best departments. When I work with your crew, we've always got great costume, great casting, great, everybody is somebody I can communicate the details to.
Yeah.
And that's really the fun part as a director, is to say, let's look at this kind of talent. Let's see who's got this skill set, but being able to hand it to somebody to pull it together. And you have done quite a bit of editing for me too. So we're having those conversations before we start shooting, right? We're saying, okay, what's our style? What are we shooting for here? What are we going to do? But I do rely a lot on the team. Not so much in writing, a few times we did things that, what I really loved was when we went down to North Carolina and we were on a super tight schedule and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I said to you, I think that was the first one where you said, hey, can you do this USAA campaign?
Yeah, I think that was.
And I go, why do you want me, And there was an element needing some humor.
Yes.
And then there was the requirement of directing a non-actor, which I like to do. I'm good at that. And part of that is getting people to trust you.
Yeah.
And when you use humor and when you kind of kind of communicate to talent that you're going to let them land safely. I call it tandem jumping out of a plane, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to pull the chute. You're not going to have to worry about anything. You're going to enjoy this ride, right? You take the fear out of it for them, right? So all of that then allowed us to say, what are we trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
How many hours do we have? Create a time budget. What do we have to do here all the way to the end?
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot, but what I did pass off to your team was I said, Chris, I can do this. I just can't tell you the lens number. I can't tell you the depth of field. Like, I need somebody who knows the tech. And that was where we connected so well, was you had so many great people that knew so much about the tech side of things.
One other thing you didn't mention, though, with that kind of project is, yes, it needed some refinement of the humor. You were working with on a very tight schedule, but also your talent was famous. You know, I mean, used to being paid a lot of attention to, and used to winning.
Yes.
To some degree. How do you coach someone like that, who is a non-actor, into the expectation that yes, they're going to win. You're not going to let them fail. I mean, I did see you at one point. You went over and you whispered something into his ear. I don't know what it was, but how do you convince someone to trust you in that position?
Well, I did it before we got there.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever knew that or not, but you knew that part of what I was going to do was look at the campaign and finesse the lines, or to talk about the spots and say, how can we enhance this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So when it came to me, and I want to say it was through an ad agency, that kind of somehow there was a discussion where his nickname was Riverboat Ron.
That's right.
And Riverboat Ron was a gambler, and he took chances. You know, ultimately, it was about how good he was as a coach for the Panthers.
Right.
And he did take high risks.
Yeah.
And the rewards were good because he had foresight for that.
Yeah.
What he really didn't like was Riverboat Ron being the nickname, and the campaign was built around him doing cards and doing things that were riverboaty, right? So in my dialogue with him, I discovered that the nickname wasn't going to win him over.
Yeah.
And so I changed all of the copy within it to make him a high risk taker, and we got rid of the Riverboat Ron vibe.
Right.
So immediately he felt like he was in good hands. This was before we even came together, right?
Yeah.
So that was about listening. A lot of times you have to listen to, you know, really the talent to find out where their nerves are, or what their interest is, or what. But when I got there, one of the things that I tapped into was this mischievous nature of him kind of wanting to get away with something, right?
Okay.
Not being an actor, but the campaign had a bunch of really funny little things. I remember the very first spot we shot was I had him he was in bed, and he tore the mattress tag off the mattress, which is, you know, do not remove under penalty of law.
Right.
And then he put it in his book as his bookmark and closed it and went to bed comfortably, right? So all of that is designed to make him look like a guy doesn't care about risk.
Right.
I live like on the edge, right? Even though it was of no consequence, right? So
Right.
each one of the spots had something like that built into it.
Yeah.
And I remember when I did whisper in his ear, there was a great moment where, to get the performance out of him, what I did whisper to him is, I know your wife was watching this in Video Village, like she's on the patio watching this happen. Do me a favor. We're in the laundry room. I want you to put the laundry in, and then the last minute I want you to take this red shirt and throw it in with the whites, and just kind of look around to find out if your wife's watching, and then toss it in there. And I go, we are going to get the biggest laugh out of her. So he was performing for one person, not for the cameras, not for the world, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't thinking, oh, everyone's going to see this.
Yeah.
He thought it was kind of an off take we weren't going to use.
Sure.
And in the end, he was great. Like, it was like, oh, this is going to make my wife laugh.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's what you're going for. The specific small thing is a thing that universally every wife would hate if their husband was messing with the laundry, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, men should do laundry. Don't take that wrong. What I'm saying is, like, I've done it with a friend who I thought I was going to be really helpful to, and I washed her clothes and shrunk some favorite shirt, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, it's not my area.
Yeah. It's a very funny spot, though. So
Yeah, all of those spots I thought turned out fun, and I have to say, we were on a tight schedule.
Yeah. We were.
So I think I referenced the time budget, but we had to be, I think we did 6 spots in a day.
Yep.
And they weren't meant to
Plus.
be long. They were 15 seconds or 30 seconds long.
Yeah.
But that meant each spot had a window. Like this hour is about get this, move on. Get this, move on. And these have to be done before lunch, and this has to be done after lunch. And when you're dealing with a celebrity, he had an event to be. So we had a deadline that was like he's got to be dressed up and out the door for the gala.
Right.
And it's like we're dead at 6 o'clock, right?
Yep.
So there's no we'll get an extra 15 minutes. We didn't have it. So that became critical.
Yeah.
Everybody knew what they had to do, and when we move on, sometimes we get ahead, get a few minutes, and then another time we do extra takes because we need it. But
Yeah, I recall that being a very an exciting but really jam-packed day because there were the spots to do, but then also there was some social media. There was
we didn't know about that though. Like we showed up and he was already shooting an ESPN commercial on the back porch at daylight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're like, what is going on here? And then at lunch he went out to the driveway to do a print ad for a car. Like they drove a Toyota up into the drive. I mean, they really, when you have a celebrity talent, every minute of their time is accounted for.
Yeah. So something you may not have known is that car didn't exist until they asked for it, and then we found it.
Oh, really?
And had the car brought in, and the footballs brought in. So those things also happened in real time. It was wild. But it was a lot of fun.
What I like about that and about the team is that it's all just a problem to solve.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
You have to be unflappable, because even when your light changes or the weather happens, you can't go, oh, we can't do it.
Right.
That recent spot we did for the Texas Food Bank.
Yes.
Downpour, just rain like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And our timing was lucky, and we could see on the map it's coming, but it was like, okay, everybody, like, get at this picnic table, get under this cover, and we gotta shoot this back to back as fast as we can.
Yeah.
And then, man, it came, we couldn't even get out from under that cover. Torrential downpour,
Yeah.
But you gotta be ready for it, you know?
It's true. And I think preparation, there's the devil's in the details, as they say, and pre-pro, all of that. And then that affords you as a director the opportunity to know that you can, because you trust the crew and you can give them these directions, probably, I assume, you tell me, but a certain sense of freedom and liberty to continue to be creative and squeeze that juice out of the thing in front of you rather than worry about these other things.
Yeah, no, it's important. Everybody that's got a good idea, when you're a director and you're smart, like if you're not an egotist, you listen and you consider things. You don't always use everybody's idea, but you make them feel like they're welcome to share it, right? Or they're able to sort of, hey, do me a favor, put that on a list, we'll discuss that tomorrow, right? You have to manage the input, but for the most part, all ideas are good ideas. They're a place to make a decision from, right?
Yeah.
And even talent, when you work with talent, sometimes they'll want to try something, and you kind of got to give it to them so they don't shut down on you.
Right.
You may or may not use it.
I mean, do you do that even if you think it's not going to work?
It depends, but depends on each part of the production. And I'm talking about crew and cast.
Yeah.
You have a relationship with, and that's why I make it a habit at the end of a shoot. If somebody's spot is done, we go, let's hear it for Chris. He's done for the day.
Yeah.
In the middle of the day, for a guy with one line, he feels like a hero.
Yeah. Oh.
Right? That's really important. Greeting people when they arrive, making them feel comfortable. And I do a lot of that where people go, why is he still talking to the talent? Well, the talent's going to carry me the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, let me show you where the breakfast bar is, whatever. I don't leave that, I don't want them to meet me the first time behind the camera. I want them to go, oh, there's the guy. Okay,
Right.
I feel at home.
Right, there's that guy I like that I had this conversation with that showed me where the yogurt was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the handoff. Oftentimes we had lots of kids in that.
Yeah.
I want their parents to trust me when I ask their kid to go jump on that swing set or do something. I don't want there to be a lot of questions about, is this guy exploiting this moment, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I feel like a lot of that, for any professional person, you should know it, but for directors specifically, is that you're like the guy taking everybody to Antarctica. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to get you there, I'm going to get you back. We're going to have enough food provisions. We're going to like you think ahead in your prep that everyone trusts you on some level. Yeah. Even if they challenge you, even if they say, I'd like to do this or whatever, there's a really important moment to get where you want to get. that everybody's cooperative.
So speaking of prep, and that's my mantra also, but is there a specific thing you do when you prep for shoot days? Do you have a routine, or is there something that you're like, I'm directing this spot, here's how I'm going to prep for it?
Yeah, I mean, among other things, I start in advance making a shot list, right? And I don't always rely on the storyboard that maybe we use to pitch the spot or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I break it down too. I double check that all the ideas of props and costume and whatever are that. This all starts before we go to the shoot, because I don't want to be there and go, hey, I need a Frisbee, right? So if I think about it even the night before and we didn't talk about it as a team, I'm down in my garage getting a Frisbee. I'm throwing things in my car to say, in case I need, which recently, out of the blue, I saw a ukulele in my house, and I thought, you know what, that's an interesting shape. It's something to do at a picnic. You know, I don't want everybody eating food, you know what I mean? And when I walked up, we had 2 or 3 people in the shot. I said, hey, do any of you play the guitar? And one girl goes, oh, I'm a musician. I go, do you know how to play the ukulele? She goes, yeah. I go, would you mind in this spot just starting with a little of that, and we'll come off the ukulele? Like, that's not in the material. That's you going, what's the relationship of the people in the shot? And I often think in story. And I do this before, and I also do it on site. So I go, okay, what is the story? Even if it's a 15-second or 30-second thing, there's still some story arc. Why is this person here? What are they doing? Why do they want? It's not about selling the product, even though that's an important part of why we have the job.
Sure.
But we had the DrinkWorks product, which was a maker of drinks, cocktail maker.
Yes.
And I remember they kept wanting to put the cocktail maker right in the front, like, this is the star, let's put it here. And I kept saying, I feel like we're overselling. Like that's a little bit aggressive. What I'd rather is make the drink maker part of the family. I want to see it on the kitchen counter in the background. I want to see it in the dining room where the husband decides he's going to make a toast, and so, hey, I'll go to this. And for myself, I just said, this has got to be a member of the family. And so if we're having a picnic outdoors, we want to invite it with us, right? And you know, yes, of course it's the center of attention when we're drinking, but then I began to look at it as a human member of the family. And I go, what characteristics does it have? And it had a big button on it, you know, that you pushed, that lit up, that started everything in motion, and it had a pod, a round pod. All this, the shape of the top of it was round. I was like, the circles are everywhere. That's the personality of this product. And that's when I called Tracy, I think, or you, and said, hey, I want circles subliminally in the background. Like, let's get rid of that boxy picture. Let's put a big round clock. Hey, let's shoot from above and show the round table, right? So it gives me a guideline, right? But part of that is just telling myself a story, right? And so I feel like that's very, very helpful. And the other thing I do, because I come from comedy, is sometimes I'll write down alternative lines and ideas, because sometimes you have very little time after a take to say, hey, do you mind doing this one more time? But let's say it this way, right? Often I don't give those alternative lines to the actors because they have too much time to worry about it and think about it and put import in it. But when they nail the copy that's written, they're relaxed. And you go, we got it. We got it. Now, if you'll do me a favor, let's try this a little different, where you're kind of confused about opening the jar or whatever, right? So I feel like those are things you have in your toolkit. And kind of required, because as a director, you're kind of on the SWAT team to give the editor options. And it isn't to say that the alternative is the winning option, but it might be the reaction to that the other actor is laughing. We don't use that take, but we use the response, you know?
Are there different things about directing content that is specifically comedy? Are there different approaches other than a story that is maybe less comedic? Do you have, like, if you have the intent of this should be funny and people should laugh, do you have a different approach to that kind of content?
Well, part of it is you're hopeful, but I think part of it is you have to kind of know where the joke is. It's not always in the words, right? So it may be in the background. It may be that you're cutting from one thing to another. That's a strong juxtaposition, right? So you do need to kind of plan that out. I think relying on jokes or one-liners is difficult.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't mean that the actor has the same sense of humor as you or has the same smile. Some people, Tom Hanks can get away with anything that somebody else can't. There's some charm there. There's something, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you can give something to somebody that is kind of feels like out of character, but they can handle it, right?
Yeah.
But the more you have newer actors or non-actors, you really have to make the humor situational.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a matter of putting them in the right place at the right time. But I would say that some things for comedy that generally play well are knowing that you have options to get reactions, right? And knowing kind of what the overall game plan is so that you can structure the scene in a way. And cutaways help and all kinds of, like if you think about Harry Met Sally, you know, it's going to Rob Reiner's mom at that other table that makes it so unbelievable. And closing on that line, which I don't believe was there initially, I think it was pitched at the end, like as they were doing it, right? Makes all the difference, right? It's an iconic scene because of that.
Yeah.
But and so you have to kind of be ready for that. You have to go. If you watch the ending of like after Bridesmaids or something, and there used to be like on a DVD set or something, there was like outtakes.
Yeah.
Man, they do dozens of lines, you know, where Melissa McCarthy's just spitting them out. And then somebody's saying, try this. Then she does it. And what she's doing, and Paul Rudd's great at this too, is they're saying the lines straight-faced. And the other people don't know what's coming. And so they're laughing their asses off, right? But that element of surprise becomes critical. And you don't know which one of those 10 lines is going to be the one that makes the other person like lose it.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of that and being surprised about delivery, I want to circle back to Free Candy for a minute.
yeah.
So, what was the delivery of that like when you were finished? Presumably, you were sharing this with Jerry.
Well, we were sharing it with Jerry, but when it was done, the manager, George, loved it so much. He's like, we got to get this to Jerry. I go, well, we can't just give it to Jerry.
Right.
He has to see it in a movie theater.
Okay.
That was my pitch. As a trailer before a real movie. And he was like, oh, I go, I can do this. I can figure this out. But that's the only way I will let you have it is for Jerry to see it accidentally, because it had on the end coming next Halloween, right? Like he needed to see an audience laugh at it, responding, and then it felt like it just needed to be something where he didn't know that he was privy to watching a movie trailer with his own voice as the narrator, because I took that out of his stand-up, right? And then his name was on there. It said from, written by Jerry Seinfeld and Pat Hazell, right? Because I'm giving him credit for the material that was his.
Yeah.
But we had to go to Las Vegas. He was having a 2-night concert of stand-up, and I found out from his touring production manager that where they were going to see a movie the next day in the daytime. And I contacted the theater and I got it to them, and it got put into a trailer package. And the most difficult part was some of that is proprietary, like you can't just throw your videotape in.
Right.
It has to be kind of scaled to their thing. And they wouldn't bump it up. They wouldn't put it out the Blu-ray quality I had it on. So I said, okay, we'll dumb the trailers down. Just enough that it didn't look out of place, right? I think there was a new Mission Impossible movie coming, or something was happening, and it got dropped in between those. It was awesome. He didn't know I was there in the booth. They had to stop after the trailer because she's like, what is going on, right?
Yeah.
And there was a very small group of people because they had rented the theater for the purpose of seeing the movie in the daytime.
Yeah.
But it was really fun, and it was really rewarding when I asked him, what did you think? And he goes, that is the weirdest experience. He hears his voice, he sees his image. I had cast a kid that looked like him as a kid, that was dressed as Superman and things like that. He's like, it's somebody handed you a wedding album and you flipped it open and go, oh, I'm in these pictures. Like, I must have gotten married. When did this happen, right? Like, that's how it felt to him. And it was glorious that we had done it here in Austin. I had tricked the town of Lockhart nearby to have Halloween a week before Halloween, so I could have trick-or-treats running the streets and whatever. Like I had kids meet at a church, and we fed them a meal, and then we gave them instructions, and we didn't want them to do anything but trick or treat.
Yeah.
So every house at every door, I put a production assistant in the door, and all they would do is open it, give them treats, and then say, all right, you go to that house over there. Like they would just tell them where to go next. And these kids were running pell-mell. It was like a 50s or 60s style trick-or-treating, right?
Yeah.
There were no golf carts and, no picking through the candy for razor blades.
Yeah.
These kids were like cut loose,
Yeah.
And it was really fun. And we used all kinds of great equipment, We had a way to bring the camera up all the way above and see that street action and weird costumes and all of that kind of thing. So, I mean, Jerry was floored by the whole thing. And we couldn't at the time show it to anybody.
Right.
And we couldn't even tell the talent it was for Jerry because we didn't want them putting it on social media or something.
Sure.
Now that he's seen it, I mean, I can share it with you. You can take a look at the clips, whatever. But we dropped it up on YouTube under Free Candy, the movie trailer. And I even got one of his buddies, Larry Miller, a comedian, to play a guy at the door that was a dentist giving out toothbrushes that kids hate,
Yeah.
But he saw his friend, he saw his, all of his material coming out, and he heard his voice. And it felt like, oh, this is coming. I better get ready.
Yeah.
It's coming next year. Yeah. So we have yet to write the movie, but it was meant to pitch to him as, let's write the screenplay together.
Super creative. What an ingenious way of doing that.
I needed a new thing for my director's reel, and I thought, well, what would entertain me?
Yeah.
Like I often find those moments. I think when the pandemic came, we collaborated on quite a few things.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. Like, it's one thing to be in pre-pandemic and kids running all over the place and PAs, and you're having these very in-person, personal experiences in producing. And then, of course, the pandemic came and it was
the
horrible.
production for so much. You couldn't gather, you couldn't get crews together, you couldn't go to locations with, folks that you didn't have, specific distances between and all that. And I remember we were about to shoot food bank stuff. It was Texas Food Week or something. There were a couple of restaurants.
Yeah, restaurant weeks.
Restaurant Week.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I felt kind of bad that we had people that were ready to work for us, right?
Yeah.
Editors, animators, voiceover people.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, what can we do to use these people in some way? And I was bored because no stand-up comedy, no commercials, none of that.
Yeah.
So I made up fake products and services.
Yes, you did.
And it was hilarious because at first it was just, I was doing it with my son at home with an iPhone initially. And we just thought, oh, let's make pandemic type commercials.
Yeah.
Like we had this hotel chain called Shelter Inn, which meant, everybody had to stay at home, and we were selling people the products, their own laundry room as an amenity and that kind of thing. And I remember the tag was something, it's not just any resort, it's the last resort. Right?
Yeah.
So that made me think, oh, voiceover people can work from home.
Yeah.
I'll just send this copy over to them. I'll email them and say, can you read me a couple versions, right? And we made that Biz Jammas spot, and I know that your family, you shot your daughter. Like I said to people, the Biz Jammas, for anybody listening, it was the idea that it was business on the top, pajamas on the bottom, and you could roll out of bed and be at your computer in a meeting, and it looked like you were in dress clothes, right?
Yeah.
So there was no commute, essentially. And my son shot that, and we cut up, put together this clothing to make our first set of Biz Jammas. But what was hilarious about it was we just made it to humor ourselves and to get through the moment in time. But people started seeing them pop up on my Facebook page or whatever, and I started getting calls. Can we license your Biz Jamma spot for our Zoom meeting? Like, our company doesn't want just talking heads, right? Which led to remaking them. That's when we started shooting stuff with equipment and so forth. Microsoft Global Livestream was showing our fake commercials in between their speakers, right?
Yeah.
And then because of those spots, I became a creative director for Tableau, and we made a dozen more spots of all kinds of crazy stuff. That was when I contacted Eric Daniels at your place.
That's right.
Yeah, we did it was a stop motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a data company, so I came up with this crazy idea for Data Crunch, which was a cereal bar but all the work fell onto Eric for that because he put together this hilarious thing where this Data Crunch bar jumped up and down on a pile of paper and smashed it down. And then, I can't even remember the tagline of that, but essentially it was a joke for data nerds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we did some fake sodas, fake,
We
Walker.
did some like energy drink or something.
Yeah, we did a couple of fake energy drinks, and people loved the fake energy drink.
Yep.
So we would customize. That's what was the most inventive about it. It wasn't that we did this one and kept using it. We'd
Right.
go, hey, we know how to make a soda commercial.
Right.
What if we change the kind of soda it is?
Right.
Right. So there was like Litigade for the lawyers, right, instead of
Yeah.
Gatorade. So the Litigade was for them, and then for somebody else it had a different name. Like everything was really fluid. We could just call the same voiceover person back and say, hey, just read the copy and include this company's name, right?
Yeah.
So it was a really great way to stay busy, be creative, and stay in production. Yeah, I mean, you guys were so helpful to me because my crazy ideas became reality.
Yeah.
The Tableau wrote me after the Bizjamas thing and said it was everyone's favorite moment at the virtual conference. Can we have the okay to make actual Bizjamas?
Oh, like the product.
They made real Bizjamas for all of their employees
Oh my gosh.
for Christmas, like 3,000 pairs of Bizjamas.
Wow.
And I said, you can do it if you send me a pair of Bizjamas. So they had a nice plaid pajama with a Bizjama logo on it. And it was so funny. When I showed my son what he had shot on his iPhone became this thing that was playing everywhere that became a real product that ended up back in our house. Like that is hilarious to me.
A wild full circle.
Yeah.
Tell me some more about other kinds of creative things that you've made, including the Carl Reiner 100-Year Legacy of Laughter, the Carson Tonight, the Johnny's 99th birthday, George Shapiro's memorial.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the creative process on those kinds of projects.
Well, it's a nice mixed combination
Yeah.
between a live event and a series of short films or things where you might be looking at the legacy and laughter of one comic that would live for 100 years, right? So Carl Reiner had passed away during the pandemic, and they couldn't have a proper memorial for him.
Yeah.
They had a kind of a Zoom gathering, and it was quite an epic thing with people that knew him were on that. But they never really got to have a real salute.
Yeah.
So the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York, decided to do an event at the Chautauqua. I don't know if you know what that is, but the Chautauqua in New York sat 4,000 people.
Okay.
And we were now going to put on this tribute to him. And we had some live guests. I did interviews with Rob Reiner, and his siblings were some of the guests. But we then looked at a career retrospective. So it was like your show of shows, the Dick Van Dyke Show. Each one of those, we compiled, beautifully edited, hilarious things where the audience was laughing uproariously. And then it was partly my job to pull it all together into a production.
Yeah.
To open Walker from your from your company. I almost said corporation, but
Yes.
I came to him with still shots of Carl Reiner that we found in a family album of him jumping up in front of a curtain in all these different poses. And Walker was able to animate Carl Reiner jumping up and down.
Yeah.
And we found a piece of music that was based on a musical version of something Carl had written, and we combined all of that to have this great opening of him. I'm sure you have that in your files. I'd love you to show that.
Yes.
It's short, but it's really impactful. And part of it is pulling together what I would call moments or found objects or, pieces of a life. So in the case of each of those people, Johnny Carson, you were helping me not just edit together compilations of Johnny's funniest things, but also when we did that, instead of me hosting the event and introducing acts, we had all acts that had been on Johnny Carson's show.
Right.
So we had access to go into the archives and find Johnny introducing that act. Magician Lance Burton, the comedians, the jugglers, Jay Johnson, the ventriloquist. So at that live event on the huge screen, Johnny Carson is saying their name and throwing it to an orchestra that's playing the intro. When they came out of the curtain, they were emotional. They were like, oh my God, Johnny started my career and got me all this way. And here he is now posthumously presenting me again. They were just the greatest performances,
Yeah.
and the audience was moved. So I don't know how I got into that lane. I think it's because I produced live events and comedy events. I could speak the language, but boy, I was sort of, to be considered the person that was there to be the steward of a person's life story, to me was so rewarding. I got to know more about each of these people. I got to look through everything, family albums, stuff you'd never ever see.
Yeah.
And George Shapiro, who people probably don't know his name, but I mentioned him earlier. He was Jerry Seinfeld's manager. He also managed Carl Reiner and Andy Kaufman and all sorts of people. So I had him on a podcast and interviewed him, and I had also produced a live event called the Bliss Awards that was giving a big award to George. And when he passed, his family said, man, if we could do something for George that was like the Bliss Awards, that was one of his favorite things. And out of the blue from LA, I get this call in Austin to put on his event with everybody in Hollywood was there.
Yeah.
We had the Paramount lot. We had people like Dick Van Dyke and Danny DeVito and Mel Brooks. And, the speakers were like insane. Kevin Nealon and Sarah Silverman, just unbelievable. So part of it is being able to talk to people in their language, right?
Yeah.
So I know how to talk to a comic and I always talk to them as people. I don't ever get fawn over them, but also I show them the respect that you're not going to have to think about anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of this. What kind of music would you like me to play you on with? That's their choice. Now when they hear the music, they go, oh, he was listening to me.
Yeah.
Right? It's the smallest gesture. On my podcast, I do a very funny thing.
Yeah.
And my son, who records a bit of that for me, he goes, how come people are always ready when you introduce them? And I said, well, I just play a little trick.
Yep.
They have credits. They're on their website. I could write an introduction like that, and they know all of that information. It's usually what I say right before I say their name. They've never heard before. So I was talking to a designer, and I said, His Majesty Mid-Century Charles Phoenix. And he's like, oh, that sounds pretty good. So it's always something either funny or lofty or, a comic the other day I called The Civic Treasure of Cincinnati. And he was like, well, that's a big deal, That's like being chilly in Cincinnati, you know what I mean?
Yeah, wow.
But it's kind of like putting out a welcome mat. You know what I mean?
That is really
And
cool
what happens
idea.
is they immediately go, oh, fun, this isn't going to be like my other interviews.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm giving you all the inside secrets, but,
that's right.
but you still have to write something clever.
Yeah.
You
do. So, circling back to something you just said, for those of you who have not heard Pat's podcast, Creativity and Captivity, how many have you done?
We're
Podcasts?
around 215 now, 215 episodes.
And
we do one every Thursday.
Every Thursday. When did you start this and why?
A pandemic baby again,
Bored?
Not bored. I'm concerned a little bit because I was edgy like everybody else who does this for a living and thinks it's never going to stop.
Yeah.
I never had the rug pulled out where can't go tell jokes. I mean, it left me to writing. Yeah. And I was writing. I'm working on a book right now, and I was writing, and that was kind of going all right, except that I was feeling a little bit, alone and feeling like, because we also had that sort of stay in your house mandate.
Yeah. Yep.
So I wasn't going to restaurants. I wasn't going to movies. I was just like, ugh. And I thought to myself, what's my favorite part of my job?
Yeah.
It is talking with peers about something hopeful, creative consulting on a project. When we talk about stuff, we're talking about concept. We talk about execution. We go, what are we going to do? Where are we going to do it? Like that collaborative process is to me where the magic is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I like the finished product. I don't like it as much as I like coming up with original things, making them become life, right? It's a birthing process. And in the end, I co-parent with a lot of people to get there, right?
Yeah.
I find the right kinds of things to do. I need a music director. I need a sound designer. Okay, I go to the best people I can find. So I thought, you know what? I have these kind of phone calls with Pete Docter at Pixar, or with people at Cirque du Soleil, or with Broadway producers.
Yeah.
What if I could somehow record those phone calls, but not talk about something that they had an NDA on? And like I thought I was
Yeah.
inventing podcasting, but like
Right.
I'm like 10 years late to the party. But I asked a few of those people, would they be willing to do a recorded interview? And man, it got me out of my funk.
Yeah.
It got them out of their funk.
Yeah.
People were in their, living rooms, basements, at their computers. I decided to do it audio only because I didn't want people to worry about makeup and hair or
Yeah.
what their background looked like. And also it made it more intimate. So again,
Yeah.
when people are on a show like The Tonight Show, they're performative. They
Yeah.
know, oh, there's the studio audience. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be sure they like me, right?
Yeah.
But when you're in conversation as we are now, where there's no audience, typically you can get a little deeper, you can find out a little bit more. And I focused the whole podcast on the creative process to say, how do you do it? Why do you do it?
Yeah.
Not tell me your resume.
Right.
Like, what is it that you're thinking about now, right?
Yeah.
And then I try real hard to dream up things that maybe they haven't heard before. Questions. When Frank Oz was on, I remember asking him, what's on your coma reading list? And he goes, what's a coma reading list? And I go, you're in a coma, and we all have to sit by your bed and read the same book. Like, what book is that you want us to read? He's like, well, do I live or die? I go, let's not worry about that right now, right?
Yeah.
But he chose the collected works of Emily Dickinson, poetry, because it was something he really thought about. What would he want to hear over and over again? Like if he was in his state of subconscious, right?
Yeah.
So I really think you learn a lot about people through that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it continues to be rewarding to me. So, it is not meant to be a commercial for my services. I like to amplify other people's stories.
Yeah.
And I really felt like making a water cooler for creative people who typically can't go down to the end of the hall and have a cup of coffee, right, with somebody. So that's visual artists, that's choreographers, that's screenwriters. They're kind of sequestered. They're stuck in their life. The title, Creativity and Captivity, was not meant to be a pandemic title. And it became one, but it was meant to say, we're going to take a creative person, hold them captive for 1 hour, study them under a microscope, and then we're going to release them back to the wild. And you'll know more about Jerry Seinfeld or, Brian Regan or Nate Bargatze, right? There were comedians, there were writers, authors, all kinds of things. So, and now it's a fantasy to be able to invite people and say, what does a dinosaur sculptor do?
Yeah.
Can you come on the podcast, right? What a great way to build an extraordinary network of unbelievably talented people. So it was not my intention to have the most powerful creative network, but now if I need something, boom, we just write them and say, hey, can you tell us how to do this?
How long do you think you'll do this?
There's no end in sight for people to talk to.
Okay.
But podcasting is intriguing to me, so I don't know if it might morph into a different kind of thing. My goal was to create a listening library for anybody that wanted to do something creative that didn't know who to go talk to about it, right? So these are coffee shop conversations with the head of Pixar, choreographer, people who you go, oh, I wish I could just for 1 hour talk to that person.
Yeah.
So you don't have to listen to all of them,
Yeah.
but if you have a track in your life, if you want to be on Broadway, we've got writers of Broadway musicals. We have Susan Stroman, who was the director and choreographer of The Producers and Young Frankenstein, whatever. These are insider conversations. Yeah. And again, you can get cooked on them, like if you're driving or something.
Yeah.
I find the unknown people as interesting as any of the known people.
Yeah, agree.
Because you go, how is that a job?
Yeah, and that gets back to like the dinosaur thing.
Yeah, like this week, it's a Foley artist from Skywalker Sound.
Yeah.
And her name's Shelley Roden, and she took a challenge. So I asked her to, in her Folio studio, like, can you make this sound effect?
Yeah.
I want to hear a pirate with a peg leg walking down a plank with a swim fin on the other foot, like, and she's getting her stuff together, and it's great. It's great. And you wouldn't even think, it's not a sound effects person, right? It's not a person that's going into a library and pulling it out and plugging it in. It's live, practical sounds, footsteps, dinosaurs running in the dirt. They're making all those sounds for real in the Foley studio. Yeah.
Amazing. That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about some other kinds of creative content that you make, and specifically, you told me a story about Terry Hatcher.
I can't remember what that was exactly.
Well, you told me a few stories about Terry Hatcher. But so circling back to Terry Hatcher, I think
Now I remember. Yes.
Okay.
No, it's funny. I don't know. It wasn't like I dropped out of that. I was working on a one-man show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was called Pat Hazell's Permanent Record, about everything that I did wrong that should have kept me from succeeding.
Right.
And it's a live event, and it is mixed with some multimedia stuff.
Yeah.
So I needed footage of stories that were true stories about my past. And I had sent a camera crew to Omaha. There was a guy there that I went to school with who had stood on his ground that I had dated Terry Hatcher for many years, and he would not get off this topic.
Okay.
So I mean, this was a long time ago, but I thought, wouldn't it be funny if we send a crew to interview the guy, ask other questions about me, and then say, hey, what's the story about Pat dating Terry Hatcher? And just to see if he would go, like if you give it up or if he would hold his ground.
Okay.
Well, he held his ground, and he held it good.
Okay.
So when that came back, he had said something in it which was, well, Terry Hatcher never speaks of it, as if he knew her. And I thought, that's our way in. We're going to follow the story, like we're like an investigative reporters.
Yeah.
So I knew that we had to interview Terry.
Yeah.
Now, we were going to initially go to L.A. or have somebody in L.A. do that.
So this is Terry, your girlfriend that you've been dating for years, right?
No. Terry was my neighbor when I moved to L.A. I didn't know her. We were friends.
Okay.
But anyway, she said, I'll be coming to Austin anyway. I said, before you go anywhere, stop at Production 4.
Yep.
I'll have a camera set up.
Yep.
We're going to do this. So we were going to interview her independently, and we were going to interview me independently in two different spaces, and then see if the stories, how they matched or didn't match. So that was a particularly funny moment that she told stories to your crew, I told story to somebody else in the other room, and then we came together, had some cocktails, and all hell broke loose because they're like, that's not what she said, that's not what he said, right? And we were kind of like countering each other in that double interview.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, she said loosely, first of all, she was adamant that we didn't date initially.
Okay.
And I intercut that with the guy who goes, they dated, and she goes, no, we didn't, we never did. And then she said, well, there was the one time we made out with our shirts off. And I was like, what in the world?
Wow. Yeah.
Well, again, we were 20 and 22 or something like that. But I was like, all these years, I had, we weren't boyfriend, girlfriend, but we had, and I said something. She goes, no, not that time, the other time. I go, what? Like, anyway, it all unfolded on camera. It was very funny.
Yeah.
She proceeded to say that I wasn't a guy she could date. I was too nice to date or something, which was all very funny and ended up in the live show.
Yeah.
And she was game, to let that live out there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I forgot about it, not because I had PTSD. I was thinking about, was it a project for Terry?
Got it. Yeah,
it was a storyline that I chased
Yeah.
to make my life story more interesting, But I ended up doing that with Kevin Nealon and George Hamilton. Several people somehow showed up in the storyline, and we were able to get interviews with them.
Awesome.
So I mean, it's a little bit of detective work.
But it sounds like a fun, sort of creative kind of piece that you draw on different skill sets with to create a creative piece for another kind of creative piece, which is your show.
What I would tell to anybody here is that really, to be a truly open-minded creative person, you have to believe it's possible.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go, we can't do this, it'll never happen, we can't call that person.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to get it. Like, if that's your attitude. Right. There's a statistic that 100% of people who quit don't make it. They just don't get anywhere in life, So my attitude, and I think it came from being a magician as a kid, was everything's possible.
Yeah.
Gonna float a lady? Okay, how are we gonna do it? Gonna saw somebody in half? All right, let's find a method.
Yeah.
That's what production is.
Yeah.
I didn't realize as a magic kid that I was becoming a producer.
Right.
Get the props, get the costumes, do the thing, get the stuff to the show, fix the props, do this thing, right? You're always doing that in production. There's always some technical jiggery pokery that you have to do. So I don't have to own all that equipment. When I have a company like yours,
Yeah.
I go, okay, well, how are we going to get this shot? You tell me, what are the options, you know?
Right.
And now, I mean, the technology is insane, you know, having a robot, you know, you can shoot around a perfume bottle, you can do whatever. My job is not to have that equipment. My job is to have a funny name of a perfume. Like I think I told you, I want to do a perfume commercial called Sarcasm. You know, behind every, you know, powerful man, there's a woman rolling her eyes, you know. But I want it to be elegant. So I really wanted to have the production of a super sexy perfume commercial.
Yeah.
But I want the punchline to come, you know, there's a chasm between men and women. Sarcasm, you know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I love doing that.
Yeah.
I would say one of my great moments was the Last Supper TV dinners.
Yeah.
Which was a TV dinner for 12 people.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, everybody could, you know, eat out of one giant tray of all the different things. So we made the actual physical prop.
Yeah.
We made the actual carton it came in, and it was a big cumbersome thing that in the grocery store was hilarious. Like trying to get it out of the freezer, trying to get it into the cart, trying to run it through the scanner, you know. It was very, very fun to do. But we could have stopped, we could have not made the prop, and we would have went anywhere. But, you know, in the end it was like, you know, it's not loaves and fishes, you know, it's stoves and dishes for the rest of you or whatever. Yeah.
Just one more sort of creative-ish kind of question. Your logo is really interesting. You're Sweetwood Creative, and I recall a conversation some years ago where you're like, let's figure out something to do with it. What were you thinking?
Well, the first thing is, you know, when you're one person, if you're a writer, if you're a director, you kind of want to be in the game.
Yeah.
And I always thought, from when I was young, I always thought, you need the marketing tools, you need the vibe of who you really want to be with. So you're really competing with Coca-Cola, right?
Yeah.
And Coca-Cola's got an icon, and they've got a thing, and they've got a jingle. Like, you had better be thinking that big if you want your icon to be at the end of somebody's project, right? And we had a really nice Sweetwood Creative logo for my theater shows and for all that, but it was a still shot.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a marquee with chaser lights on it and that sort of thing, out in the middle of a field. And I remember coming to you and saying, I need a bug, like I need a 5-second identifier for Sweetwood Creative. And we kind of looked at the picture and said, what's happening in this? Oh, how about if a star falls out of the sky? Like, how about if that's what lights the sign up? So now it's illuminated, like we're bringing brightness or we're bringing creativity to the project, right? And we did that, but we called a guy named Gary Stockdale who had done other music for me, and we then sent him the animation, and he put just the most beautiful little music on it. And it just feels so good to be playing at a level that you can say, you know, you got a Sweetwood Creative product when you see this happen at the end, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope you can show it. It's very short.
Yeah.
But it still makes the difference. And it kind of, to me, like any production, the devil is in the details, right? What does it look like? What does it sound like? You know, who's the spokesperson? All of that stuff becomes important. If you cast somebody that can't handle the product, then the product doesn't look good. You know, like you've got to really be mindful of all the like interlocking parts.
Agree. We just have one more question that I want to ask you, and then we'll wrap up. There's a lot of conversation about AI right now, generative AI, AI just in the sense of like being able to reference what's out there.
Right.
What are your feelings on AI, the use of AI, how it dovetails into creativity?
Yeah, I will say this. I have mixed emotions, and it is unstoppable. Like, you better make friends with AI, find the right usages, you know, because there are so many unbelievable and amazing things that AI can do for the world. Like, I love that it's working around the clock for medical solutions. I love that it's doing all kinds of things. I take umbrage to certain creative things being done by AI, only because not that I don't want my friends to be put out of work, but I feel like it's lacking at the moment, and it will learn, and it will learn on itself faster than we can. But, you know, if you say, make me a poster for my rock band that's Friday, that's okay. We got till Friday. We got to get this thing up. We got to get it on social media. Okay, you know, can you generate 100 band names in case we want to rename our band? Yeah, let it guide you to some things you can brainstorm about. But I really don't like the part where people are kind of lazily saying, write my corporate speech or doing whatever, because I feel like it's aggregating that from the internet, from all things that exist. There's plagiarism going on that nobody has to be blamed for. So the guy that gets the corporate speech doesn't say, I didn't write it, that was my writer. They go to the writer goes, I didn't write it, that was AI. You know, like there's no accountability for music stuff, for all of that. And you can literally go on some of these things, programs like Sonos, I think, or whatever, and you could say, I want a country song, I want this kind of voice. Here's a poem I wrote, can you make this? It'll spit out a song to you. It'll spit out 100 songs. And the same with children's books. Like, you know, all you have to do is give it a little bit of a prompt. So the interesting thing is, the prompter is the key to the whole success. Yeah. The more artistic and creative the person telling it what to do, the better the results that are going to come out. But some people say, I want to write a children's book. Their ego, they're not writing it, AI's writing it. Oh, I want it to be about a dog that got kicked in the field. Like, you're not writing a book. Right. Do you know what I mean? Right. So I think we're going to see a kind of a mediocrity, not terrible, like I guess just good enough. Okay. And it's going to be just good enough that it's not worth paying a person to do it. Yeah. Which means all of those photographers, all of those, you know, but for production and other things, hey, you know, virtual backdrops, there's all kinds of ways it can be used effectively. I kind of find that people send me material, written material. They'll say, hey, can you take a look at this? And I go, look, I don't edit for AI. If you've told AI what you want to say and you send it to me with the final editor, I'm out. Yeah. Like, if you do your final edit, if you use it to help you create an outline, and then you put Chris's voice on it, and it comes to me, and I sense that it has humor and warmth and heart and various things, then I know it was last touched by a human. I kind of feel like that's still really important to me. Yeah. Because I contend that storytelling all takes us back to the campfire, takes us back to the human experience, to passing the guitar, to doing a thing where we, the human condition and humanity relies on our experiencing things and feeling things so we have empathy. And you take empathy out of it if everything's mechanical, if everything can be done by a machine, if everybody's no longer working there but pushing the button, right? Yeah. Then it sort of takes the life out of it, you know? We can make cool things, but I think when it comes to creative content, I'd rather have James Taylor playing the guitar. You know what I mean? I do. And I go, you got me. I'm a melted puddle when I see and hear that person doing an original song that way. Yeah. You know? But anyway, so I'm not against it, and I really think that you have to learn it. I just think not to rely on it, because it won't save you when you're out in nature, right? That's true. You know, there are certain things I say, like hugs. There's not an app for that. Yeah. Right? If you think technology is going to replace a hug, you're not going to make it very far. You know. Is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't really touched on today? Anything about I would like to start, I would just say thank you, right? Oh. Because you believed in me from the beginning when you would invite me to do these kinds of things. Yeah. But you've given me chances and opportunities. And, you know, you have to have sentinels in life. You have to have people that will stand up for you. And learning directing, which I think parts of it came to me intuitively because of so much stage performance and knowing how to talk to actors and all that. But being able to be in the edit room, being able to rewrite copy to where I thought it was better and have it be accepted, having clients trust me with their things, all of that comes from the trust we develop. And also, I don't want to own the building. I'm sorry. I want to go to the studio. I want to say, hey, when's a good day? You know what I mean? And it's not because I'm cheap. It's just I don't want to have the maintenance if the roof caves in. Like, I don't want any of that. So, but that's my lane. My lane is to say to you, do you want to make something funny? Do you want to change people's minds? Do you want to put out the vote commercial, right? And you have the option to say yes or no, but also we have that third party relationship with who the client is, right?
Yeah.
So we've had good times with people.
Yeah.
And I would just say another directorial note, it's a top-down business. Your attitude impacts everybody along the way.
Yeah.
I keep the set light.
Yep.
I try not to make fun of anything. I just try to be sure that people are in good spirits. People are always appreciated, right? It's just very, very important that they're fed, you know, that like we had a couple of times we had a client where we had to say, I want the extras paid.
Yeah.
Even any amount.
Yeah.
This may be their first job. I don't want it to be one where they feel abused in an 8-hour day. Like, let's make a budget that includes that, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have great attitudes. It always makes me feel comfortable. I try to do the same for cast and crew when I come and go, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think that whole idea that the product is super important, obviously, but also the experience that surrounds the making of the product is also super important.
Yeah, and the client is always appreciative to be around something that doesn't have tension.
Yeah.
You know? So I feel like it's all fun. It's all supposed to be fun, right? You know, we're doing our best for everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a company, you always go the extra mile, right? Like, you know, it's like an over-delivery game.
Yeah.
Like I always go, we're also shooting social media. Oh, we're also delivering the photographs. Oh, we'll do, okay, I'm in. Let's do it. But I feel like clients leave and they have a whole year's campaign when they came in for 2 spots. You know what I mean? But it keeps me on my toes and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This has
pleasure.
been Pat Hazell, creator, comedian, writer, director, and all-around great guy to hang around with. So
And I'm on the lam, so do not report this to ICE.
that's right. Don't have them chasing him. I'm Chris Blankenship. This has been ProFor Live from the Budio, and we've had a bunch of fun with this interview today. We'll do some more, and we'll see you soon.
You can cut the ICE joke.
We can cut the ice joke.
Well, I don't want to perpetuate any. All right, I hope that wasn't too boring sitting in your chair there. Audience of one.